August Mergelman here, and my designs are available at augustmergelman.weebly.com. This is a do-it-yourself project, and it is for someone who is maybe a little bit adventurous. I'm not going to provide the most thorough instructions in this video, so you're going to have to fill in the gaps. You're going to have to MacGyver a few things, but be creative, have some confidence, and I think you can do it. This does require a number of materials, some of which do need to be 3D printed. Just to clarify, I am not going to provide the actual objects. I'm only going to provide the designs, which are going to come to you as STLs, which are pretty universal. You can either print those designs yourself, or you can send them away to somebody to have them printed. If you take the latter option, I do recommend CraftCloud. This is an online service that can connect you with a printer who can handle your job. The 3D printed parts fall into two big categories, the base and the candle. Let's start with the base. It looks like several parts, but it's actually just one big part, with one exception, the little ring that goes around the trunk. This is basically a washer with 4 holes in it, and it will give some guidance for the thumb screws when you put those in at the end. The second major category is the candle. It includes the flame, the shaft, and the candle holder. The holder has 2 options, the rounded and the pointed, and you will get both designs in your order. When it comes to painting, I recommend that you get the base printed in a red PLA. Later, you can paint the legs forest green. It's a little easier to get to the legs than to the bowl. However, if you're the kind of person who is definitely going to prime it, you can get it printed in any color, and then you can spray paint the whole thing red, or at least the bowl red. I do suggest you get the flame printed in just translucent PLA. I did experiment with translucent yellow and orange, and I didn't like them quite as much. I don't recommend you paint the shaft. I tried it myself, and it ended up looking a little weird. The holder you can get printed in a metallic color like gold, silver, brass, or if you know you're going to paint it, you can just have it printed in a drab color. You will also need some thumb screws. I bought 4 that were 30 millimeters long and 4 millimeters in diameter. They seem to work pretty well. You'll need some alligator clips. They're pretty easy to find. One of the first things you're going to do is to hot glue the alligator clip to the holder. When you do that, make sure you have 2 beads of hot glue and you leave a space for the wire when you string it through. Incidentally, it's a big no-no to hot glue the wire, so make sure you don't do that. You will also need some twisty ties. Because of this hot glue, it's a pretty good bond, but it's not quite enough. Put this tie on after you do the hot glue, and then you'll have a really good bond. It's still flexible though, so it works really well. And that twisty tie goes up through the shaft, and it provides a little bit of structure, and it also just keeps it on. For the lights, if you notice the little light up here and the really tiny wire, it's hard to see, but that's the point of it. It's supposed to be really small. Make sure you get the really, really small lights. The nano, the pico, the quantum realm. You get the idea, really small. I got mine from Evan Designs in Fort Collins, Colorado, and I'm really happy with them. Let me tell you why. They're a nice, soft, warm color, and the flickering effect is really subtle. It's not obnoxious. I really like the USB option because it's not as bulky as a regular standard plug. I also like the switch. I didn't end up needing it, but it ended up being a nice extension cord, and it only cost a little bit more. The absolutely best thing about these lights, you do not have to solder them. You can twist the wires together. It's a piece of cake. There will be places where you have to cover those connections where you twisted them together. You can use electrical tape for that, but don't. Use the shrink tubing that Evan Designs provides. It's a lot better. I'm not going to get into how to string the lights together because there are a lot of videos provided by Evan Designs, and they will tell you what you need to do. One of my reasons for making this tree in the first place is that I wanted really discreet wires. I think I achieved that, but I was left with a gob of wires at the base. Not a problem. I'd rather they were at the base than on the tree. So my solution was to just get a cheapo little box and hide the wires in there. You are going to have to string the wires into the tree. It's not really hard, but it does take a little bit of patience. As I mentioned, you don't want to hot glue them. So what I've used here is masking tape, and I just put that around the trunk. Now to the trunk. You have to paint the trunk. You want it to look like real wood. So paint it flat brown if you want it to look fake, because the trunk of a tree is never flat brown. The base color is closer to this, kind of a brownish gray. But be a little artsy, add some other colors. Maybe some dark purples, some dark blues. Then add some ambers and some greens. If anything is too obnoxious, just tone it down with its opposite. As a general rule, you want to start with the darker colors and end with the lighter colors, but it doesn't matter that much. Ultimately, it does need to be kind of drab. It shouldn't stand out too much. It just needs to have some dimension. If you get a little paint on the tree like I did here, don't worry too much about it. It's not that noticeable, and real needles on trees aren't really perfect. And of course, if you have your forest green paint, you could always paint over it. Just use cheapo acrylic paints for this, and don't be a perfectionist. As for the number of candles, that's really up to you, but I do really like how 6 look. Now as for the tree, the tabletop tree, 24 inches high, that's up to you. They are pretty easy to find though, and you'll find them with a burlap base. I kind of like the burlap base, but I feel like it's been done before, and I just really like this old-fashioned looking base, which is obviously why I made it. Anyway, the burlap base that was formerly here, you're going to have to take that off. So you can do that maybe with some cable cutters. You might just have to twist it until it comes off. You might have to take a hammer to it. That's up to you. I did originally want the trunk to sit in the bowl and not on the actual surface, but I did find that was really difficult to manage. But I like the compromise that I ended up with. The trunk does touch the surface. I just use something soft at the bottom so it doesn't scratch the wood. And because it does rest on the surface, it does have a little more stability. The shaft will be a little bit translucent. I'm okay with that. It seems like wax to me. But if you want it to be a little more opaque, I would recommend that you take some thick paper, you roll it up, and you stick it in there to help block the light. If you take on this challenge and you gain some insight that you would like to share, by all means, look me up and let me know.